investigators suggests that a young female student named Amy had an affair with a priest. She became pregnant, and soon after she died. Whether she took her own life or was killed by the priest is not known, but her ghost is said to haunt the academy building, which has served as both a dormitory and the home of the school's administrative offices. When a team of ghost hunters investigated the college in 2000, they found the academy building did indeed give off a negative energy. They experienced cold spots and caught glimpses of two spirits that fit the description of Amy and the priest. Inside, they saw a young blonde woman dressed in a school uniform. She appeared to be frightened. And in the alley, just outside the building, they spotted an angry man, dressed entirely in black. Room 457. Students and investigators alike have experienced unusual phenomena in many of the former dorm rooms in the academy building, but room 457 has proven to be especially disturbing. Some people felt like the room was closing in on them, and others sensed that very bad things had occurred there. Some reported feeling a sensation of falling, and one of the investigators said that she felt the room had once been full of children and had been used for discipline. Some ghost hunters use pendulums to measure paranormal activity. While one group was in this eerie room, their pendulum suddenly broke. No one could fix it until it was off the property. Oddly, a camera also malfunctioned at the same time in the same place. The Denworth ghost, in a tale that's similar to the one that allegedly took place in the academy building. A female student had an affair with a professor when she found out that she was pregnant. She told her lover that she was going to tell administrators that what had occurred, but she never got the chance. He killed her, and her ghost reportedly still haunts the Denworth Hall Theater. Some people have heard her singing "Hush, Little Baby," and others have been the subjects of her pranks. This makes for a good story, but some paranormal investigators were skeptical. Many theaters have ghosts, and let's face it, actors can be dramatic, so they didn't have high hopes of finding any ghosts in the theater until they came face to face with one. While some of the researchers were waiting in a stairwell, the shadow of a girl with long hair appeared on the wall for everyone to see, yet no human body was there to create such a shadow. As the onlookers watched intently, the shape began to take form. It floated down the stairs singing "Hush, Little Baby" to a doll in a clear, melodic female voice. The team sensed that the spirit had been through a terrible tragedy. It seemed to long for company and began to cry softly. As the group left the building, the specter could be heard imploring them, wait, don't leave." Other stories of the Denworth ghost say that she's usually much more playful, but she's also rumored to be highly sensitive to gossip. She doesn't like to be discussed around campus, so her distress may have manifested itself in the sad, negative cloud of energy that surrounded her. Apparently, you need to mind your manners, even when dealing with a ghost. Alright, so the next story is Yuma Territorial Prison holds inmates for life, and some even in death. What could be worse than being locked in a prison cell for life? How about being locked in a prison that you were forced to help build? That's what happened to the first 7 inmates at the Yuma Territorial Prison back in 1876. Is it any wonder that the place is considered one of the most haunted locations in Arizona? There were no minimum or maximum security prisons in the 1800s, so inmates at the Yuma prison ranged from petty thieves to murderers. By the time the prison closed in 1909, more than 3,000 convicts had been held within its walls. Compared to today's standards, prison life back then was hard. Each cell measured only 9 feet by 9 feet, and it was not uncommon for the indoor temperature to reach 110 degrees in the summer. A punishment known as the dark cell was similar to what we now call solitary confinement, and a ball and chain were used to punish prisoners who tried to escape. It must have worked because plenty of souls never left this place, the good, the bad, and the ghostly. Despite the brutal conditions, a library and educational programs were available to inmates, and a prison clinic even gave them access to medical care. But the jail soon became overcrowded, and in such close quarters, tuberculosis ran rampant. During its 33-year history, 111 prisoners died there, many from TB. 8 were gunned down in unsuccessful escape attempts. From 1910 to 1914, the former prison building housed Yuma High School. Considering the restless souls that were left over from the structure's days as a prison, it probably did not make for the best educational experience. During the Great Depression, homeless families sought shelter within its walls, and later, local residents who wanted to have a little piece of Arizona's history borrowed stones from the building's walls for their personal construction projects. Solitary spirits. Today, all that remains of the former Yuma Territorial prison are some cells, the main gate, a guard tower, the prison cemetery, and the ghosts. A museum is located on the site, and visitors and employees report that spirits have settled there as well. Lights turn on and off randomly. Objects are moved from one place to another, and once the coins from the gift shop's cash register leaped into the air and then fell back into place. The dark cell is also a focal point for ghostly activity. The restless spirits of prisoners who were sent there for disobeying rules are thought to linger. At least 2 inmates were transferred directly from that cell to an insane asylum, but whether anyone actually died there is unknown. It makes for a few unsettled spirits, though, doesn't it? Linda Offney, an employee at the prison site, once reported feeling an unseen presence in the dark cell, and a tourist who visited the prison in the 1930s had her photo taken near the dark cell. The picture looked perfectly normal, except for the ghostly figure of a man standing behind her within the cell. Offney also tells the story of a writer for Arizona Highways magazine who witnessed the hauntings. The journalist wanted to spend 2 days and 2 nights in the cell, just as prisoners would have, in the dark, with only bread and water. She only made it a few hours before she called for assistance, explaining that she couldn't shake the feeling that something was in her cell with her. In June 2005, Arizona desert ghost hunters spent the night at the Yuma Territorial prison and gathered enough evidence to convince them that the place is indeed haunted. Photos taken of the guard tower and in cell 14 both show suspicious activity. An orb can be seen near the tower, and a misty figure is clearly visible. In cell 14, where inmate John Rhino Although the Yuma Territorial prison only operated for 33 years, it certainly spawned its fair share of paranormal activity. This begs the question, was the prison built so soundly that for many there was no escape, even in death, or did the inmates just give up and choose to stay there forever? Alright, and the last story for this video is going to be the residents of Lourdes Hall. In 1990, Lourdes Hall opened its doors on the campus of Winona State University in southeastern Minnesota. Since then, students have learned that they are not the dorm's only residents. Lourdes Hall was originally part of the College of St. Teresa, an all-women's Catholic school that was known for its nursing program. When St. Teresa's closed in 1989, the building was sold to Winona State. After all, with its heated swimming pool and large cafeteria, Lourdes Hall made for an attractive addition to the university, even if it was rumored to be haunted. Priestly indiscretions. Many of the stories about the building center on the tragic tale of a young woman named Ruth, who lived and died in Lourdes Hall during the 1920s. According to legend, Ruth was a nursing student at St. Teresa's who became pregnant by a young Franciscan priest named Father William. Man, these priests are really disappointing me in this video. For the duration of her pregnancy, Ruth hid herself in the infirmary on the 4th floor of Lourdes Hall. After giving birth, she tried to keep her baby, but fearing that his indiscretion would be exposed, Father William threw the infant down an elevator shaft. Eek. That's not okay. Unable to deal with the shame and heartbreak of this experience, I'm not surprised, Ruth committed suicide by throwing herself down the 3rd floor stairwell. Then, likely realizing that he had made every wrong choice that a person in his situation could make, Father William hanged himself in the vicinity of where the swimming pool is now located. Because the school was located in a mostly Catholic small town, the deaths were covered up, and most people hoped that the controversy would fade with time, but you can't forget something that refuses to be forgotten. Shared housing. Most students at WSU don't know about Ruth or Father William when they move into Lourdes Hall, but they soon learn their sad story. On the 1st floor, students wandering the halls toward the building's only elevator hear footsteps behind them, but when they turn around, they find that they are alone. The elevator leads to the laundry facilities in the basement, and more than one student has decided to wait out the spin cycle in his or her dorm room after the elevator doors open multiple times for no reason. At night, students wonder if the high-pitched noises that they hear are coming from a squeaky dryer, or if they're the unanswered cries of Ruth and William's murdered baby. It might seem that there's a reasonable explanation for these phenomena, but how do you explain Ruth's continued presence in her old room? Room 4450. As is the case at many universities on campus, housing is a valuable commodity at Winona State, and very few can afford to turn down a room, even if it's haunted. For years, residents on the 4th floor of Lourdes Hall have reported hearing strange sounds at night. A knock at the door may turn out to be no one at all, and footsteps heard echoing through the hall at night might come from an unseen source. But the students residing in room 4450, Ruth's old room, always leave with stories Oftentimes, posters and other decorations will fall off the walls. Beds will be overturned when residents are away, and no matter how many blankets Mom sends from home, it's impossible to stay warm in room 4450. Ruth makes her presence known in her room and perhaps elsewhere in the building, but there is one place that she seems to avoid: night swimming. It would seem that a pool in a college dorm would be very busy, but at Lourdes Hall, swimmers report feeling as if they're being watched, and rumor has it that if a student dares go for a nighttime swim alone, he or she is guaranteed to see the specter of Father William. He or she is guaranteed to see the specter of Father William hanging from the rafters. The disgraced priest, condemned by his own actions, hates being alone, and many students have felt clammy hands tugging on their ankles while they swim at night. Living with the ghosts of Lourdes Hall may not be easy, but the students who reside there know that one day they move out. For Ruth and Father William, however, Lourdes Hall is their eternal home. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching.